5 o'clock, according to my computer. So I'll call the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting of the Manitowoc Public School District Board of Education meeting to order. First on the agenda is the 2023-2024 audit. Turn this over to Mr. Mishler.
Yes, it's got a little brief pack, right, and it's attached on the form. I just want to tell you that it was written by the auditor, so it reads like an auditor.
Indeed.
But like they said, management is responsible, we're responsible for our own financial statements. Our responsibility meaning the auditors to express an opinion on the financial statements, and they issued unmodified audit opinion to the best. Besides the audit, they provide some compliance standards in the audit manual, the audit book. If you look at the audit book, most of it's notes. Hardly any of it is actually financial statements and things like that. Now, they reported 3 audit findings. I might as well be on the negative right away. Audit findings, preparation of financial statements, which is a common one, that the auditors prepare the financial statements, and that happens in a lot of districts. Hardly any of the districts do their own financial statements. They give them all the financial stuff, and the auditors work that out. Material audit adjustments, there are some material audit adjustments. Which are taken care of, not negatively, they're just adjustments to when they left. When they left, there were still adjustments done. So in essence, they were here in August, and things were done, quite a few were done after that fact. And district aid certification was filed after statutory date. It was filed September 25th when it was supposed to be due on September 1st. Now, does that cause us less aid? No, it just delayed an aid payment first time. So that's the consequences of it. They talked about adjusting entries. We don't have to go through it. But there's always some adjustment entries after they leave, things like that.
Were we able to make that up, or did we lose that?
No, yeah, you make it up. You just don't get that for,
Okay.
it's made up in the second one.
Okay.
So, no, that's a good question. So, it was just a consequence. There's some penalties, but not necessarily financial penalty. It's just you have to wait for, you don't get all the money right away. 17 adjustments, 10 proposed, and things like that. Reconciling cash. So going down to number 3, the second bullet point is they had a hard time reconciling cash. So I came here, that was an issue. Timeliness of requested audit items. They weren't given to them all at once. Original and final budgeted amounts they were delayed and things like that. Compensated absences, the reason they put that there is because there's a pronouncement coming out and there'll be some more footnotes. So nothing that was bad on that. And see management advisory comments or details. There's some things in these communications too, in the other, not just in the audit, in the other. There's other reconciling cash, timeliness of audit items. The original final budget during that was not the same as the adopted budget and things like that. So those were adjusted. So that's that. That's that. I'm talking about all these things, but overall, it was a good financial year. If you go to second page on it, it says statement of position, and it's not a very good. It's sort of like a balance sheet, but it's not quite a balance sheet. But statement of position last year position was 37 million, now it's 39 million, so that's a positive. We go to the second part, fund information. 23, we had fund balance of 19 million. Now we have 21 million, so fund balance went up. Going on to the other minor funds, the other bigger one is long-term capital improvement trust. It shows a balance. In that one, if you look at 24, 25, they've added money into it, plus they spent money out of it, which is Fund 46, that's Fund 46. The other ones are kind of small, food service being the big dollar amount, lost 202. Probably gonna lose about $200,000, again, that's because of CEP, where we're feeding everybody. Everybody's free. You can interrupt me at any time. The next one is governmental revenues and expenditures. If you look at it, it's pretty even on that.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that CEP program, did you say we're losing money on that?
Yes,
And is that gonna,
because they don't reimburse 100% of the meal cost. So that was a decision made. Everybody's allowed to eat. So the paid meals are being, the costs of, so all the schools are under CEP. So it means that paid, free, all are are free. And now there is a governor's proposal to say that he's going to make everybody's free. So all meals are going to be free. That's one of the governor's proposal. We have fund balance to cover it. Before fund balance was high, now it's starting to run out. So it'll last another 2-3 years, 3-4 years with fund balance if we run the deficits. At which time we'll have to make a decision to discontinue it at that time.
yeah, if my memory serves me correct, at one point, or at least the last time we really talked about this, this program would cost us less than the old program we had. Is that right, Lee?
I'm not familiar with that, but what I was gonna ask you, Ken, though, is it's showing a deficit, but are you saying within that fund,
Yeah.
there's about 3 years of room prior
Yes.
to it being in deficit?
Being affecting Fund 10.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's still fund balance in there.
It's showing the loss, but there's enough in the
Yeah.
fund to cushion for a couple of years, but it'll run out.
So eventually we'll have to figure out,
Yeah,
you know, and I guess the other follow-up to that is, like I said, the last time this came up, it was kind of a contentious issue, if you guys remember. I think a lot of you guys were here.
Yeah, sure.
You know, the thing that kind of swayed me back to like, all right, maybe we should do it was that, you know, the program actually ended up costing us less somehow, even though we were feeding everyone, versus the old program, which was just kind of feeding the kids that needed it, but had that process that was kind of cumbersome and whatever.
we're running into issues. I'm the only hearsay, so I can't tell you. And I was here, they asked some questions that. The amount of paid meals, and the participation wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And so, in essence, you need high participation to cover the fixed cost. And so you have staffing in that. And so, in essence, we just didn't have enough participation, and so there would have been a loss too. Yes, but not to the extent of $200,000.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at, guys, is I think that at some point this might not be sustainable, and I encourage the conversation to flow that we could kind of model out, like, here's the track we're on and what it looks like versus, you know, plan B, and at what point does plan B become more economically viable if if this is gonna eventually, it sounds to me like eventually this isn't gonna make sense at the rate it's.
Eventually, I think the governor's bill is gonna pass that they're gonna have free lunch to, for
Okay.
all students. I think that's gonna happen. It's been a big push statewide for a while.
Okay.
Or the reimbursements become higher.
Higher.
So maybe not for that, and that would make it more viable to stay with that program.
So Ken, if we were to increase participation, then that 202 would be
Yes,
less, correct?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah, because there's so much fixed cost. You have so many people, the cook, serve, and things like that. Schools have X amount of people. Well, the cost of labor cost is the same whether I'm serving 5 meals or
500.
500, yeah. So,
So even when it's free, people don't participate.
Chris?
And one valuable thing that we can do, which has always been true in this district, is there are buildings that take more advantage of it and buildings that take less. And what we really need to do is look at the buildings where it's highly successful and say, what are you doing? That doesn't mean every building has to do it the same way, because they're all individual buildings, and I believe in that. But if they know, well, here's what Jackson's doing, and they've got an 80% participation rate, somebody has to go, well,
Yep.
we can make that work if we can show them that helps the whole district.
Correct.
Because if what you're doing now has got you at a 20% participation rate, what can we do? Yeah.
Ken, anything else?
it's just some graphs and things like that. On the last thing, on the last, second last page. Second last fund balance, you see it going, start higher, go down, now it's going back up. So fund balance is starting to go up. We'll use some of it this year, but that's that's where we're at. Any questions? Yes.
You had mentioned that there was a discrepancy in reconciling the cash accounts.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on the extent of that and what might cause that?
It's been, I think part of it was a software change. We made a software change and they had problems reconciling cash. And then went from month to month to month to month. So,
What kind of discrepancy are we talking about?
it wasn't anything stolen, it's just that they're not,
It was the delay, I believe.
delay and
So the numbers were matching up, right?
numbers weren't matching up, yeah.
Timing of it or whatever?
Timing and all that kind of stuff.
So
And the further you get out, the more you, this journal entry, that happened, this happened, it's harder to reconstruct that. So, I'm sorry,
is that gonna be an issue for us in the long term or?
I don't believe so. The reconciling cash can be difficult sometimes because there's so many working parts. They write out checks, they have accounts payable, they have direct deposits, they have ACHs, and try to tie all that out does sometimes, but I plan on working very hard on that this year and making sure that doesn't happen.
Ken, how is that investigated? How do you just have to go back and go through?
It goes
accounts.
through it eventually, you might not find it all,
Yeah,
so in essence, then you just make an adjustment to the books on that. So there's an adjustment account just for cash adjustments, right? DPI gives you a cash adjustment, so you can do it. So it's not uncommon to have cash being off, but it's uncommon to not have it months and months and months be it that way.
So, just to reiterate, it sounds like, in your opinion, I know you're relatively new coming back in here, you think it's stemming back from that transition to the new software primarily? And-
Yeah, I think so, and then how they were gonna do it all, yes, I think it started, yeah, at that time.
And so, and just to further clarify, there's really no chance that there's any like fraudulent behavior.
No, I didn't see any evidence of fraud or anything like that.
And going forward, now that we're hopefully further through that transition, do you think that we're gonna have issues with that in the future, or should it be kind of? by now?
It should be, yeah, the systems are, as we move forward, there's still, we're still making some system changes to make it better, to reconcile and things like that. So I just met with them a few weeks back about different ways we can make this easier and be able to follow expenditures and things like that. So, so that, we're working on that, yeah. So I don't anticipate when it comes to audit next year it'll be a problem.
Any other questions for Ken on this? And thank you. I know this is a difficult task, it's a cumbersome task, and thank you for all your work and again, the nice job on working with our auditors on this. Next, we have
Is there any
the
action?
budget update.
No, there's no action, you gotta accept.
No action.
I mean, it is what it is, the audit is, it is what it is.
You could vote to accept it or not accept it, but it's still the
It
audit,
is,
so.
yeah.
Ken, back to you on the budget update.
Yes, the budget, currently, we're working on salaries for 25, 26. HR personnel, whatever you want to call it, is going to meet in closed session for the teachers negotiation March 4th, I believe. We have sort of a plan, semi-plan, things like that, but I can't share it yet because we're going to be in negotiation, so the teachers will kind of affect other groups too. So what we decide on that, and how it comes together, we'll find out more on that. But we're moving forward on it. We believe we're way ahead of last year's schedule. Purchase service, including busing and C contracts. In this thing, I have an attachment with supplies and services increases. If you look at the cost of it, 0%, 1%, 2%, 3%. 3%, reason I picked 3% CPI right now is currently at 3%. We would like to hold supplies and materials to 0% increase. That's what we'd like to do. Purchase service is gonna be tough because we got busing contracts, which is already sort of negotiated, CISA contracts coming up. They usually do an inflation factor, and some other ones are supply services. So holding it to a 0% increase would be very difficult. So we're probably talking some of the possibly 2-3% on those. Just want to tell you what we're looking at. Non-capital objects, supplies, materials, 0. There'll be adjustment to staff based on enrollment. Oh, okay. I'll let Lee talk about that. Adjustment for staff based on enrollment, attrition.
So at the March 4th Policy and Personnel Committee meeting, there will be a report given on some proposed staffing levels at elementary, middle, and high school as we take a look and realign our staffing ratios with our enrollment. I know I've mentioned this to you and you've received reports on our plan or action plan to get to a place where we're working on getting those staffing ratios back a little bit closer to where we were pre-COVID. So we've worked through all those scenarios, and right now we're working through the important piece, which is, taking care of people. The good news is that attrition is the goal to achieve these through attrition. And our preliminary look at those positions would indicate that roughly currently 80% of the reductions are already taken care of through attrition. So we'll have more updated numbers on that as that progresses. Of course, we're waiting for the March 15th deadline for retirements. And as you all well know, the market for teachers right now is hot. And so therefore, we do expect some movements also from the months of April, May, June, July. So we're very encouraged by not only the work that we've done on this to get things much closer to align with our enrollment, and the projected savings that will help us with, but we're also very happy to see that these plans are looking, we'll be able to achieve nearly all of it through attrition.
A quick question, none of these projections, attrition or reduction in staff would affect our program offerings?
Correct.
So we will not be cutting
We're not cutting programs
or services.
or services, no.
Anything else on budget for Ken?
Nope.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Lee. District building concerns update. Mr. Michael.
Do you have pictures?
Yeah. Pretty dramatic.
Fun, huh?
These are the latest. And those high winds that we had back in late January started blowing the chimney at the Wilson, started blowing the bricks down. And so I had the guys go up there and they took off all the loose bricks. This goes back to tuck pointing that should have been done. This should have been done 10 years ago, I would say. You can see how loose they are. So I just said, go around, and they asked me, should we keep going? And I said, anything you can pick off with your hand, take it off, please. So I think it's down about 3 feet all the way around. So, and as far as repairing it or fixing it, we will wait until we get through our meetings and find out which direction we're going to go.
How do you get up there?
We have a lift
Okay.
over at
It goes all the
JFK.
way, it goes
Yeah.
up.
Now that you mention that, page 2 picture with Washington, our lift does not reach up that high.
Yeah.
So then I called Hammond, Steve Hammond, to come over with his guys. The roof was lifting with those high winds too. The whole roof sections were lifting up. So I said, just screw it back down to the roof deck, with big washers and to hold it then. And while they were up there, they found a piece of cornice that was letting loose. So I said, please pull that off.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of years ago, before I was here, you must have replaced half of it or 3/4 of it. And so anyway, they just took that off. That's all concrete up there. I have no idea how that was built 90 some years ago. But
Very carefully.
apparently, yeah, it's put together like a puzzle. Lincoln had no heat a while ago. One of our unit vents in one of the entryway that's never used, that froze up. So all the water came out of there and drained out. The entire system was empty, so we had no heat in the building.
Yeah, I'm the historian for MPU, and I thought they sold us steam.
Still do. They did.
Okay, so, but the water was condensed steam, is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah, so that drives the boiler essentially,
Yeah.
which then sends the water up through the univents, and the heated water is what essentially heats.
Okay.
heats
Yeah.
the school.
Oh, I see.
So we were able to find it that night, fortunately, and
Wow.
bypassed it. So, but these,
But if they hadn't been able to, well, isn't that the one that, if they hadn't been able to fix it? That was the other school.
No, that
that's
was
the
Lincoln.
same one.
That was the
That's
same
Lincoln,
one.
yeah. To order a univent heater,
Yeah.
Train Corporation has us on a 3-year waiting list.
Yeah.
I think they just don't
1,000
want to
days.
do this kind of business anymore. That's why.
I think at one time, there was like 23 heating zones in that building when I was there. It was like,
I believe it.
yeah.
So anyway, there were 4
It's interesting.
classrooms that were unusable.
Tell them about the Wilson and those decorated windows. I thought that was a fascinating, but on the Wilson picture, you'll see those fascinating little 3 decorative windows.
This one,
Yeah.
up in the front tower of Wilson, there's some decorations up there, and the mortar is all gone between those things too. They're literally just standing up there right now. So
Wow.
we either get up and, it's part of the tuck pointing process, so those are heavy.
They're solid, they're heavy. If they fall on somebody,
If they fall, I think they'll go through the roof, I think, into a classroom, so. That's just some of the tuck pointing concerns that's been left go. If you get on regular maintenance and that stuff,
Yeah.
you catch that kind of stuff then.
so Mike, a quick question. These repairs are all within your budget directly. They're not going to be waiting for any referendum. They're ready to be taken care of as we sit.
They're ready to be taken. As far as budget, you're saying?
Yeah.
I would not be able to do this within my budget.
Okay, but I mean, this is not waiting for a referendum. These things are being taken care of.
Yeah, some of them will have to wait till spring, which will be after the referendum.
Okay.
But that's still better.
Just because of temperature.
Okay, sure,
Yep.
sure. Any other questions for Matt?
Yeah, I'm curious, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, but how many of those issues were identified in that building study we did, CISA 6?
Cornice, not the roof areas. They wouldn't have known that. The high winds exposed
Yeah.
the problems there. What else did we have? Heating system was not on CISA's list.
Yeah.
But we just know in general, our heating plants are old and they're gonna be failing. So that's part of the 161 million is replacing some of the heating plants and some of the electrical panels and that, which are just aging out. So that, some of that would be in CISA's estimates.
Any idea what it would take to repair all this?
161.
I mean, the stuff that you brought today.
Okay. I'll
Just
give you,
curious.
yeah. I would say $150,000 to get it really back in and stuck together again.
And so I just wanted to point out, I mean, this is just a great example of like unplanned emergencies, right?
Yeah.
And so every time this stuff comes up, I think we have to have an honest conversation on how we got here, right? And you know, how do we handle situations like this? And, you know, for me, I think we really got to move towards that, you know, building that sustainable budget for maintenance, you know, knowing that when you're maintaining facilities like we are at the age that we are, with the footprint that we have, that's going to cost money. And you're going to have stuff come up that is unforeseen like every year. And,
Yeah.
you know, right now, we're just not in a spot financially where we can manage that, you know, and that's a real obstacle for this community that we have to solve. And we, you know, collectively, you know, the district hasn't solved it for a long time, but I think we have an opportunity now to do something about it.
I agree.
And I would encourage my peers here and the administrative team, you know, as, you know, when the board turns over here in a couple months, like, keep the focus on this, guys. We gotta get this figured out. We gotta solve this problem long term.
Well, I'm not on the committee, but, you know, there's a lack of political will. You know, at the root of all of this, there's a lack of political will. I mean, the funding formula is really broken, and you see referendum being all over the state all the time now. And, you know, they'd rather give tax cuts to wealthy people than, you know, help fix the buildings. And so, you want to talk to your representative in the legislature too. So, I mean, I think some of this stuff would have been anticipated and done if funding wasn't so shallow. So you
A
know.
lot of the funding that was taken from that years ago was for staffing because the funding was so terrible for low spending districts.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions for Mike on that update?
You
So what
can't
happens
just
if
do duct tape?
There's not enough in Manitowoc.
I have another question, Mike. What happens, let's just say hypothetically, that if our referendum doesn't pass? So how do we fund projects like this?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a deep conversation. I don't know. It's discouraging. If that would be the case, that we didn't get the referendum to pass.
Yeah, and I guess to Carrie's point, I would agree that there are elements of, disequity or whatever you want to call it in the funding formula, and we've gotten the short end of the stick on that, but I also think that, we've had opportunities to, move a little bit more proactively, looking at our operating costs. And I think we're trending in the right direction now, but, specifically when you talk about the capacity of our district now and, how much room we have versus where the population trends are going, we really need to, as we're walking down this path to solve the budgeting problem, we need to really start looking at consolidation as a viable option. And knowing that, we had an option not too long ago that could have saved us $1 million a year potentially in operating costs. So I would encourage you guys, to keep that on the forefront too, knowing that there's a lot of moving parts to this thing. And if we're gonna, make that case to the public, at least focusing on the part that we can control, right? No one likes going and asking to borrow more money, but I think we all realize that's really the only option we have right now. Let's concurrently show the public that we're working diligently to, be efficient, and we're on the track of, we've identified these issues and we're moving in the direction to do something about them and not just talk about it for the next year or two.
Any other questions for Mike? Baseball update?
Head to Washington.
Okay. Have a good meeting.
Yeah.
There are two phases to the baseball project. Number one is the planning stage and all that. And we've contracted with H&H out of Collins over here, very close, but they're getting big into this type of work, athletic fields and that sort of thing. So their proposal for doing getting the permits and everything was $39,500. Reckler was the competition, and their proposal was at $90,000. So this was an easy price. So that's what they're doing now. This is good timing, and if the committee raises the money and that stuff, we'll proceed with building the rest of the field. Okay. We'll see what kind of dollars they come up with, but right now it's good. Good time that we're using.
I had an
right now.
opportunity to talk to Todd Hadler, and he was on the committee with the
Yes.
other two. And we talked about the amount of money that's coming in from volunteer organizations. And he said there's one little glitch, and it seems to be with that maybe QR code, that people are donating with that QR code, but they're not quite sure where it's going. Whether it's going straight to the foundation or whether it's going to a separate fund. I mean, it's out there, but they can't quite find it. But he said there's the volunteerism's coming in. They've got great information for lighting contractors and bleacher work and the whole bit. But citizens like myself that want to donate using that QR code, there seems to be some glitch in that. So that's what they're working on right now, because
So we
there are,
haven't raised any money.
yeah, there are donations coming in, but it's not getting to where it should be, whether it's just going to the foundation or whatever, they don't know yet either, so.
To be able to, you can use the website and go to the foundation.
That's there, yeah.
But or they take a new picture of the QR code that's on that website. I don't know. I haven't heard that. Yeah.
You're talking to the wrong person about it. I want to fill out a little pledge and give it to them.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for, are you taking pledges? Sure. Any other questions for Mike on the baseball field?
So it sounds like fundraising is a little bit slower than they thought, huh?
It seems like it, yes.
Yeah.
Are they on track to get the rest of the field done?
According to Todd, they are.
The timing is there, and we just want to make sure that there's enough dollars
Yep.
involved. We're not going to pull the trigger on it until the dollars are there. For phase two, but we're in position to do that. Late July is when construction would start on that. They finished their baseball season and.
So that field is for sure going this year, right? Is that right? Or is that still up in the air?
The baseball field? now?
Yeah.
We're planning on doing it this year,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions? Anything good for the order of the meeting? I need a motion to adjourn then?
So move.
Second?
So efficient.
Second? Tony, did you?
Yeah, I
second? Yep, thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen, and Lori.
I have one quick question for you. I bet you don't have an answer.
Who are you addressing this to? Oh,
Lori. I said Lori, I have one quick question.
I didn't hear you say Lori.
Yeah, no problem.